I don't know why I did that. AOA podcast back for another episode. Editor's note: don't do this thing again. That was bad. Welcome in for another episode. Oh my goodness, we are jam packed with all sorts of wonderful, informative, and entertaining topics, including Herschel Weingrod, pedophile caught in the act. I guess for legal purposes, I probably should say alleged pedophile. I mean, not that suing your old pal Aunt would get you anywhere. Would not make you any money whatsoever. But still, just to play by all the rules. This famed Hollywood producer was literally caught in the act of meeting a 15-year-old after some online chat. It's blowing up all over the internet right now. Mainstream media hasn't picked it up yet. I don't know if they will, but we'll talk about it, of course. RFK and his brain worm issue. This is trending right now. I'll tell you what that is and why our third candidate in the upcoming presidential campaign may have some issues to worry about. Besides the fact that he was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane twice. Oh, my goodness. Heartbreaking. We lost the great Steve Albini. Wonderful, legendary music producer. If you don't know the name Steve Albini, but you're a fan of 90s rock music, you were influenced by Steve Albini. Of course, most famously known for producing Nirvana, In Utero, and a whole bunch of other great 90s rock bands. We lost him today, far too young at the age of 61. We'll remember the great Steve Albini on this episode. Plus, Marjorie Taylor Greene fails again, and this Office reboot. We've got a premise to discuss. All that and more coming up on this episode of the podcast. I'm not one, and hello to everybody in the live chat. I feel like these Wednesday shows are becoming just me and you shows, and I like that a lot. Nacho Fish Show here, Robin Bird, Zoso, everybody's in the chat. Laura, Miss Justice, hello to everybody. I'm not one to brag about equipment on this podcast. We're not one of these, we've got a new piece of equipment people. Hi, TD Freelancer. But we have a new piece of equipment here in the studio, which I'm very excited about. And I'm going to share it with you right now. This is thrilling. This is unbelievable, unprecedented. Never thought I would have this in all my illustrative broadcasting career. I never thought this was a possibility, but yet here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an AOA branded garbage pail. I mean, come on. Look at this. It's got handles. It's got the logo on it. You throw trash in it. I mean, come on. This is amazing. This is absolutely what a thrill to have our own branded garbage can. I'm so very excited about that. I wish we could sell it, but I almost feel like it's too special to sell. So we might reserve that for like some fun giveaways. Maybe we'll give away some authentic, one-of-a-kind, batteries not included, limited edition AOA garbage pails. By the way, do you say garbage pail or trash can? Where are you in this? Comment below for the algo. Debbie says, moving up, Aunt. Tell me about it. We're flying high. Let me just say this. For as much as Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and the bald Amazon guy, whose name escapes me at the moment, Jeff Bezos, has accomplished, I'll even go as far as to say, where do you want to go? President Barack Obama? Are you a Republican? President George Bush? Ronald Reagan? Name your idol. For as much as they have accomplished in their lifetime and as much influence as they have, do they have a garbage can? Do they have their own personalized trash receptacle? Wrong side, idiot. I think not. I think not. A lot of trash cans coming in here. Lots of trash cans. Waste disposal bin. There you go. Waste bin. I never said waste or bin. That's interesting. I wonder if that has to do with where we were all raised. Any hoozles. Let's jump right into the topic du jour. This pedophile, Herschel Weingrod, alleged pedophile. Please catch me. Please let me know in the comments if I missed that again. Anyway, this popped up on X, Twitter, and this this old Hollywood producer is sitting with a young girl, and two gentlemen come up to him and approach him because it was a sting. It was one of those sting setup situations. Here's the video here. There's a big, tall, burly guy, and there's an old, I wouldn't say an old pal, but somebody we've discussed briefly on this podcast who I don't really love, and I continue to really not love. But he does get some snaps and some kudos for calling out a pedophile. But I worry that these dudes are maybe causing more damage than good. I'm not really entirely sure. But this Herschel Weingrod, you see him sitting there. Bradley Martin is the big muscle-bound dude, and he pops on over to Herschel and confronts him right away.
Oh, fuck.
What's your name?
Who are you?
What's your name?
Who are you?
Why are you suing my fucking daughter? What's your name? What is your name?
Boris. My name is Boris.
Now, this dude, look at this guy's arm. Let's just start with the arm. Which I have no reason to, I would not be sitting with a 15-year-old. But if I was sitting with anybody, if I was sitting with a 45-year-old or a 35-year-old, and this dude came up to me screaming, "What's your name? Why are you sitting with my sister, daughter, whatever?" I'd shit my pants. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not here to be a tough guy. I'm not here to pretend I'm something I'm not. This dude walks over to me and asks me anything other than directions. Little poop's going to come out. Little shit's going to come out. I can't imagine what this guy must be going through. Although, you know what's amazing about these people? There's a moment that's coming up that is so scary. And I don't mean the big muscled guy. I mean the producer guy who's partaking in alleged pedophile behavior. He says something that really, it stops me in my tracks. Let's get up to it. By the way, lies and says his name is Boris. His name is not Boris. His name is Herschel Weingrod, and he is a movie producer. And he's either produced or written in some of your favorite movies. Let's go down the list. Trading Places, the Eddie Murphy film. Brewster's Millions, the amazing film with... Brewster's Millions is one of the all-time greats with Richard Pryor. He's done Twins with Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. He's done Kindergarten Cop back in 1990. And his last big writing credit was Space Jam, the 1996 version, which was obviously massive. So he hasn't worked in quite a while. But you don't really need to work when you have that sort of a resume. That's enough money to put in your bank where you never have to work again. Still, you should be golfing, not scanning the internet for 15-year-olds.
Boris, what's your name? Shake my hand.
What's the problem?
Why are you suing my daughter? You know how old she is?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
He looks like he's fucking scared too, by the way. Doesn't he look terrified? I would be too. I don't know why he said Boris, and I also don't know why this Bradley Martin. By the way, I don't know who Bradley Martin is. I don't know him. He seems like an okay dude. I don't know why he demanded a handshake there. I don't know if I would have touched the pedophile, to be honest with you, but that's just me.
You have no idea.
Sorry, alleged pedophile person.
Idea.
No.
The fuck you thought was going to happen here?
Nothing. We're going to have a pizza. I don't know.
Pizza. Yeah, you don't know? How old is she?
Brad.
You know how old she is?
I messed with her. She was 23.
23. Is that what the conversation looked like?
You know the text messages? She was 23 on a
23
dating site.
On a dating site?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, she was 23 on
How old is she?
Site. I have no idea.
Lila, how old are you?
15.
I'm sorry. She was 23 on a dating site. All we've done is
So
talk.
she didn't tell you how old she was?
She did.
She did?
Yeah.
How old is she?
She said she was 15.
How did she tell you how old she actually is?
She said she's 15.
She said she's 15. Why are you here? Why are you sitting here?
I'm just having a
With a fucking 15-year-old?
pizza.
Piece of pizza with a fucking 15-year-old.
It's not against
You think
the
that's
law.
okay?
I think it's not against the law.
It's not against the law.
No.
Is that all you spoke about to her?
That's terrifying to me. That's terrifying when he goes, it's not against the law. So he knows legally he's done nothing wrong. Now, I don't know what conversations they've had, because I know you can definitely get in trouble for just having conversations and baiting a minor to come and meet you. It's a catch a predator premise, right? All they need is that conversation to happen for them to be some sort of I think you have to say what you want to do, or there to be an exchanging of services for money or something like that. Again, I don't know all the technical, legalities here, but just the mere fact that he's like, I've done nothing wrong, this isn't illegal, scares the shit out of me, because it's like these guys know the rules. They know how, because you say to yourself, why the fuck would you be in this? Clear, everybody knows in the room, but the shitty ones go, yeah, but I didn't do anything wrong. Even though we all know they were about to. You know what I'm saying? That's such a scary fucking thing, because what's scary about that is this is not this guy's first rodeo, right? This guy didn't get the unlucky lottery of getting busted the first time he decided to do something awful. This has happened before. I mean, there's just no way. There's just no way, I feel like I've been seeing these kinds of videos a lot lately on social. Again, I feel like they're always around. And usually the people always break down. It's the scary ones like this guy that's like, there's nothing illegal about getting pizza and all that kind of shit. We're just getting a pizza, just getting a fucking pizza, come on. There you go, Paul. This is the real Pizzagate. There you go. Kind of weird getting a pizza. I mean, what the fuck? And the other weird thing too is, I mean, what is this guy thinking? Does he think everybody in the pizza shop just thinks that he's the grandfather or something? I mean, anybody walking by that table and hearing that conversation would have put their, that radar would have gone off. Don't you think? Like, it's so bizarre. Again, it makes you think these guys are so calculated. They're so calculated. Let's do it in public. It's just pizza. There's nothing illegal here. Oh my God. The fact that people like this exist scares the shit out of me. It scares the shit. Yeah, see something, say so. Could you imagine being a fucking waiter or a waitress and you're just working your way around? Now all of a sudden you look at the table, you go, oh, grandpa and granddaughter going out for pizzas, and that's sweet. And then you walk by and you hear some creeper fucking conversation. Oh my God, poor person making $12 an hour, $10 an hour, waiting tables, working for tips, and now she's got fucking Captain Pederass over here, and she's got to step in and find the courage to say something. God, that's a tough day. That is a tough day, man. That is a really, really tough day. Garbage can. I don't know if Laura is voting on the garbage can earlier or referring to Herschel Weingrod. I'm not entirely sure. Please clarify there, Laura.
We've just been talking.
Really?
Yeah, we've been talking and flirting. It's not a big deal.
And then he goes, we've been talking and flirting. It's not a big deal. No, you're 76 years old. She's 15. That's the definition of a big deal. That's a very big deal. It's no big deal. We've just been talking and flirt. You see what I'm saying? There's a deranged fucking line in their morphed heads that they just go, this is, Mercury, yikes. Yeah, fuck, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Where are you going?
I ordered a pizza. I'm going to go.
Okay, have a seat. Have a seat.
Why?
I'll sit with you. I'll eat pizza with you. We're just having pizza, right?
Sorry.
Sit right here.
Sorry.
Sit right here.
Sorry.
Where? I don't know. Whoa, excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
You said you wanted a
So he wants to get around the guy. Now, how do I say this gracefully? I appreciate this sort of a thing, right? Like I don't know who, I keep having to look up his name. Bradley something. What's his name? Bradley Martin. I appreciate Bradley Martin. I feel like, you know, in one sense, I want to say, oh, you're doing God's work here, right? You're trying to keep the young kids safe from pedophiles. That's admirable. Nobody can deny that. But we're a minute and a half into this 3-minute video, and I'm not sure there was a plan really in place here. And the only reason why I bring this up and get quasi upset about it is because this is something that law enforcement should be handling, right? As much as I appreciate regular, ordinary citizens trying to do something noble, at the same time, I mean, if you notify the police maybe going into it or have them standing by, whatever the case may be, maybe you get this guy locked up instead, you know, because this guy could just float in the background for the next 10, 15 years or 5 years or whatever, and then go do it again when nobody else is around and watching. While maybe he could have landed himself in jail if the authorities were contacted and this was done properly. Again, using the example of To Catch a Predator, they always had police standing by. They knew that was their job as journalists. They knew what they were doing to get these people behind bars. Bradley, credit, as much credit as you can give him, you don't want to be in a situation where you can fuck that up, you know, where somebody could be getting arrested and now they're not. So he wants to wiggle away and he's like, let's sit down and repeat. Like, I don't know what he was he trying to coax a confession out of him? Maybe. But on the other hand, there's professionals that know how to do this. Like, if you could get the setup going, great, but maybe turn it over to somebody who knows what they're doing and can take this thing across the goal line and get assholes like this behind bars.
He's touching Nick, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know who this guy is, but he reads one of the lines that I guess this is Herschel Weingrod said to him, and then Herschel Weingrod just completely takes off down the block.
It's just weird. I don't understand what people.
So you're a pedophile trying to meet a 15-year-old.
Okay, so now this is Vitali, right? This is Vitali. And Vitali, if you remember, I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago, months ago, where we did that story about the dude who went on was it OnlyFans, or I think it was OnlyFans, and printed out pictures of this girl's OnlyFans, and then the young girl, she couldn't have been older than 20, whatever, 2, 23, 18, 19, however old she is, I forget. Remember, she was dating the geeky, nerdy kid, and then he went up to the nerdy kid with her naked pictures and was like, could you, yes, fly and wide. This is the YouTube prankster guy. He was like, can you sign these pictures? And then he flashed the pictures to the boyfriend, and then the boyfriend got into a thing, and then it was a whole big skirmish at this nerd con, whatever they were doing, YouTuber Fest, these nerdy video people, right? And then she wound up spitting in his face, and then the cops got involved and they were going to arrest her. And he was like, I'm not going to press charges if you give me my apology. And it was this whole big elaborate thing just to humiliate and embarrass this girl. And that still to this day left a bad taste in my mouth about this guy. You know, like this guy, because then after that, I watched like some of his videos and just the worst clout chasing piece of shit I've ever seen on the internet. Like, again, you've got to be a real dickhead to print out somebody's nude photos and then go to a Hollywood, go to a film con or nerdy YouTuber con, and then get her boyfriend to, like, that's really bad. That's really, really low. And Flying Y says he's not even funny. That's what pains me the most about this guy, Vitali, is, as a hilarious person myself, watching somebody try and be hilarious and just be an asshole. That really drives me nuts. I just hate people like that. And especially like clout chasers. Like Frank and I, we were talking about this last episode about the guy who made up all that shit about Tom Brady and put it out on TikTok and everything. Just for what? To get that momentary little like follow and those people just jumping on board. Like, you can't maintain that audience. You're going to do something to push these people away. But I credit this guy Vitali. Like, he's got a bunch of followers because he's done all this kind of outrageous shit to grab headlines and stuff. But I don't understand. I would love to sit down and speak with the people who follow him and just ask them how much do you really. I think people go, oh, that's a crazy stunt. They hit follow and then they never watch his shit again. That's why he's got the follow accounts that he has. But when you watch his material, because I gave him like 5-10 minutes that one day I first discovered him, I'm like, this is fucking terrible. I mean, this is really shitty. I put the pedophile guy here, and I put Vitali really not that much better above him. You know what I'm saying? He's not that much better. Now this guy comes over and pops these these color dusty things on him. And just I'll let you listen to his little commentary and tell me this guy's not it.
Yeah. It's just weird. I don't understand what people.
So you're a pedophile trying to meet a 15-year-old. Oh shit! I'm sorry, it's not a boy, it's a girl.
Whoa.
Yeah, you are.
Wait.
We need to hear audio.
So he pops the blue thing and then he goes, oh shit, and pretends like he made a mistake when I'm sorry, that I think this was his bit. I think his bit was, I'll get these and then I'll pop them on him and it'll be great. And it's like, listen, if I pop that thing, on Frank or he on me or what, you know what I'm saying? Like friends, you do it to somebody you love, could be really hilarious. When you're dealing with a pedophile, though, I don't understand the thought process of, oh, I'll bring the little powder things and we'll shoot him with it. Why? Because you're here for yourself and your clout and not to really do the good that you appear to be doing? Fucking asshole. It's like it's the same fucking thought process of, oh, I didn't do anything wrong with the 15-year-old girl. We were just talking and flirting. It's like, look at me, I'm arresting everybody, but you're not. I'm out to get the pedophiles. No, you're not. You're out to get fucking page views. You're out to get video counts. You're such a dick. Such a that was your contribution. Now, I don't know Bradley. Again, I don't know the guy Bradley, but I'm going to chop back a second here in this video, because if you listen for Bradley, Vitali starts talking, and then when he pops one of the things, that Bradley guy goes, whoa. Like, even Bradley is like, the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Listen,
it's just weird. I don't understand what people.
So you're a pedophile trying to meet a 15-year-old. Oh shit! I'm sorry, it's not a boy, it's a girl.
Whoa.
Do you hear? Whoa! Like, he's like, and he kind of. If you see where I pause in the video here, he's kind of looking at him like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you doing?" And listen, it worked. It worked because after I saw this, after this video got sent to me, I went and searched, again, to do my background and find out as much as I can before telling everybody about this. And a couple of the headlines were Vitali hits pedophile with, Hollywood producer pedophile with, powder gun or whatever the frig they call these things. And it's like, it works. As much as I think that guy's a dick, it works. It works for him. And I guess he's going to continue to grow his audience that way. So, I mean, good for him. I can't stand to watch 5 seconds of this fucking asshole. And I'm glad he's only 10 seconds of this video. But at the end of the day, so just to kind of put a nutshell on it, like the guy goes and I guess walks all the way back to his apartment building and hides behind a security guard before he goes up and into the building. And the poor security guard's like, I'm just a security guard. What do you want from me? But they don't do anything. They don't get him arrested. They don't get him to admit anything. Like, they may have, it's like those cop movies where it's like the cops are about to make an arrest and then the private eye gets in there and fucks something up and now the guy gets to go free. That's kind of what I feel like in this moment. Now, listen, did they ruin this guy's reputation completely? Yeah, probably. Did they do good in the end of the day? They may have. They very well may have. But we don't know that. We don't know if this guy doesn't get on a fucking airplane and he's off to God knows where and he's fucking, diddling kids off in another country somewhere. We don't know. How would you know? Versus getting the police and the authorities involved and getting them behind bars where he fucking belongs to be, where he deserves to be. So that's my feeling on that. Again, from one point of view, I can appreciate the effort, but on the other hand, there's a reason why we have law enforcement and laws, and there's a right way to go about it to put these pieces of shit behind bars. If they get it done at the end of the day, well then great. I'll come back on this podcast and I'll applaud them from the beginning to the end of the episode. But if that were me, I wouldn't take that chance. If I got the first part of it where they find this conversation and they get all this information on him, great. But I would have taken that to the authorities and I would have finished it up there instead of taking it into my own hands where I'm getting the views and I'm getting the clout and I'm also missing the point of, oh, this guy's not behind bars now, So a little selfish, I feel, on their parts. But again, I'm hoping for the best. Hopefully this is all they need to look into this guy. And I mean, I can't imagine this is ever the only time this happened. Usually there's a lot more fire where this kind of smoke is. So hopefully it'll all come to a justice sort of an ending. But that Vitalik guy, I swear to God, this is my exact thought process. I'm watching the whole thing and I go, I can't believe I'm watching a pedophile, and I'm thinking to myself, boy, that other guy is such a douchebag. I just can't fucking believe it. I really just can't. That guy, something about him, it just fucking drives me crazy. Anyway. RFK Jr. and the brainworm. It's a weird story breaking late this afternoon from the New York Times, who went back and found a deposition that Robert Kennedy Jr. gave back in 2010, where he said that he had suffered some memory loss and he was having a hard time and he thought, maybe I have a brain tumor. So they went and did some scans on him and they found a mass in his brain and they were like, I have a brain tumor. We have to, get this out. He saw a bunch of the country's top neurologists, and one of the doctors came back and said, I believe you have a dead parasite in your head, meaning a worm got up in his brain and ate his brain a little bit and, caused a portion of his brain to go haywire and to go numb. Now, a lot of people say that if you read, that's going to be the big headline that everybody's talking about to discredit RFK Jr. A lot of people say that you fully recover from that kind of a thing. Even if a parasite, isn't it weird to be talking about a worm in your brain? Even still, they say he could recover from that fully. He could not, but he could recover. It could have some lasting effects. In this deposition back in 2010 or 2012, whenever it was, he did admit in the deposition that he had cognitive problems, clearly saying, quote, I have short-term memory loss and I have longer-term memory loss that affects me. Not something that you want coming out when you're heading into a presidential debate. A presidential campaign. To his credit, he hopped on to X right away, and I'll give him all the credit in the world for this. It's a good line. I mean, political feelings aside, a fucking funny line is a fucking funny line. You know what I'm saying? He jumped onto X right away and said, I'll take 5 more brainworms and still take on Donald Trump and Joe Biden and beat them in a debate. So it's a good line. That is a funny ass line. By the way, sensing again some clout there, Elon engaged with him and said, "Why don't you do it here on Twitter?" To which he, of course, accepted. And why wouldn't he accept it? He's the third place guy. He's got no shot. He's got no shot of winning. The other two are not going to walk into a debate with him whatsoever at all. But it's fun for Elon again to pull some headlines and get some clout off of that kind of a thing. Do I think that this has a real big impact on his political campaign? Time will tell. Does it bother me that he has some cognitive issues? No, because I don't think we have any candidates without cognitive issues. Does it bother me even more so that he was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane twice? Bingo. Yes, that would be the one. That would be the one. That would be the one. There's Ant's red flag right there. Cognitive brain worm damage. Massive pedophiles plane free rides. Bingo. That's the one. That's the one. That's the one that I can't get past for Mr. RFK Jr. Steve Albini. This is heartbreaking. Allow me to be a music nerd for a moment. If you don't know Steve Albini is, he's a wonderful producer from Chicago. And I don't often talk nice about people from Chicago because they're really terrible people over there. But he produced a lot of amazing records from the Pixies, the Breeders, PJ Harvey. He died from a heart attack at the age of 61. So friggin' heartbreaking. He's one of those, I don't know if unsung hero is the right word, but again, one of those guys that helped shape my youth. I mean, he produced the Nirvana record In Utero. It's one of the biggest albums of all time. It's one of the greatest records of all time. It's one of your old pal Ant's favorite albums of all time. And that stuff like that sticks with me. The guy is a massive genius, huge nerd. I'll be honest, I know a lot about him. Paul's asking if drugs are involved. I really don't know. They just said heart attack. He was running a music studio. Current day, kind of what he was doing was running a recording studio called Electric Audio. And staff at the studio confirmed that he died yesterday of a heart attack. The news kind of broke today, though. 61 years old. Which is just scary. When your age starts to get closer to the age of people that are dying a lot, that starts to hurt a bit more. You know what I'm saying? That hurts a bit more. But again, you don't think of it at the time as you're growing up, but you listen to that In Utero record and that sound is so distinctive of Nirvana. And again, what is this, 94, 93 In Utero comes out. I'm 11. I'm not thinking about anything. These are just songs on the radio. I'm not in radio at the time. I don't know the business. I don't understand how most of it works. I don't even know that there are such a thing as song producers and and record executives and all. I just know the songs that come out on the radio that I like. And then you hear this huge drum noise and these massive guitar riffs and the vocal doubling and all that. And you're like, holy shit. And of course you fall in love with Nirvana, right? You fall in love with Kurt, you fall in love with Chris and Dave, and you're like, this is amazing. And then as you get older and you get more into the music, you realize, holy shit, there was a lot of people behind this kind of a thing. And then you learn about Steve Albini. I don't want to bore you with a million nerd anecdotes, but I will leave you with this one because it stayed with me forever to this day. And you can go back, by the way, and I encourage you to do so. Steve Albini did a podcast with Conan O'Brien. It was with all of Nirvana. It was with Dave Grohl and Chris Novoselic, and Steve Albini got together, and I believe it was around the anniversary of In Utero, and they talked about the production of that record. And that interview is wonderful. If you love music at all, You will appreciate the shit out of that interview. It is so great. In that piece, just to give you a sense of who Steve Albini was as a human being, how it works in the music business. If you're a record producer, you take what they call points on an album. So you might work for a band and go, you don't have to pay me anything right now, or pay me very little. Let's say it's 3 months of work, 6 months of work to produce an album. A producer might say, all right, give me 10, 15 grand now, and I'll just take 5% of sales on the album moving forward. And when you're talking about a record like In Utero, you're like, holy shit, that's a good deal. But the realness of it is most albums are not In Utero, right? Most albums don't sell a shit ton of records. I'm trying to see what In Utero sold here. Certified 5 times platinum, sold 15 million copies worldwide. Yeah, so you did pretty all right. So 5% of that would have been real nice, or 2%, or whatever you wind up getting or negotiating. Sometimes record producers won't take a fee, but they'll be like, all right, I'll take a $500,000, whatever it is. They all make different deals. There's no uniform way of doing things, but the only uniform way, the only bit of, real way of doing it was not very favorable to the artist. And so Steve Albini at first doesn't want to produce the Nirvana record because he called Nirvana, he's famous for this quote, he called Nirvana REM with a fuzz box, meaning they sound like REM, just you turn their distortion up on their guitars, and that's what you get. So he didn't want to do it, but he was also really upset with the music industry and how it was all working. So when Kurt Cobain, who was listening to, I think it was the Pixies or the Breeders, I forget which one of those albums that Albini produced that he was listening to, and he was like, that's the sound I want for our next record. It was Steve Albini. So when he reached out to Steve Albini to produce the record, Albini said, I'll do it, but I don't want points. I want to get paid up front. And I think the band was kind of like, all right, well, like, what do you want to have? He's like, no, just pay. I don't know what the pay was, but they equated it to a plumber's pay. So like a regular average Joe payday, like, just pay me for my time that I work on your record, and that's it. And he said at the time, to anybody who cared to even interview him, but he said in subsequent interviews with Conan and with other people, I've heard him do this story a bunch of times, that he just felt it was morally unjust. He said it wasn't right that a band comes in and the record label doesn't pay, the recording studio doesn't pay, the band pays, and a lot of the times they wind up paying way too much for the work that's done on a record. Could you imagine? There are not a lot of people in this world, whether they be record producers or doctors or lawyers or podcast hosts, that go, that's too much to pay me. This is really what this type of work is worth. That is almost non-existent. In fact, I'm struggling to think of another human being that I've ever heard tell a story where they did that and it was backed up and verified by other people. Robin says that's a rarity, and truer words were never spoken. That is an extreme, extreme rarity. So he didn't make millions off of Nevermind, and he could have. I'm not Nevermind, In Utero, and he could have, and he should have. He really should have. What's unfortunate is the record company probably made a shit ton of money, and they could have used a little bit less. But listen, I've done a lot of work with record executives, and there's a little bit of truth in the fact of the reason why all those deals seem so shitty and awful is because you literally go through 50 to 60 bands that completely fail, that you lose money on before you hit on one band. It's very, very true. The batting average of most of bands and record executives and labels is not great. Now, you wish they would develop talent a little better, be a little bit more specific on who they put forward. But I'm going to be honest with you, being a DJ in a market where, being a DJ out in the Hamptons, we were a very, very big launching market, right? So there was test markets like St. Louis and, little markets, little towns, 2 million people, population cities that were sort of test areas. the Hamptons, because of our proximity to New York, the amount of powerful people that work and listen and to radio around these areas and vacation out here in the summertime, the elite. This was a testing ground to a degree, but also a launching ground. Like we used to get, when labels would test artists around the country, we used to get them, and we used to get them just before they broke big. A lot of bands, and I could go back and tell you all sorts of stories. There's tons of bands that we saw that were just, Adele. We played Adele just before she broke massive, just utterly massive. We were playing Adele. We had bands come in and out. I've told some of these stories before, so I'm not going to bore you with them again. But the point is that it's a tough business. And so to have a human being go, you don't have to pay me that much, that's not fair. You never hear that shit. So that's one thing. So listen to the Conan O'Brien podcast with Nirvana. It was an in utero anniversary. It was really, really good. Check that out. The story I want to tell you, and again, you could watch this for yourself. I don't know if it's still on HBO Max, but it was an HBO series for a brief moment. The Foo Fighters made a record. What was it? Something Highways. And the premise of the album, Sonic Highways. So if you have Sonic Highways, you'll love this story. So the premise of Sonic Highways for the Foo Fighters is Dave Grohl gets the idea. I'm going to go to the different towns in America, New Orleans, Chicago, New York, Washington, and I'm going to record a song in there. So this whole record is going to sound like America. We're going to go into these towns. We're going to eat their food. We're going to, we're going to chill and take in their culture. We're going to play with some of their locals, and we're going to record a song in these towns. Such an amazing record. And they documented all of it, and they put it out on HBO at the time. So I think you can get it on Max still. I hope. I don't know if it's still up there. Somebody will be able to tell us if it is or not. And each episode is about a particular song and the recording process and how it all works and everything. And it's really, really fascinating. In fact, Dave Grohl did a documentary on, I think, Sound City, which was a recording studio in Los Angeles. And I think he talked to Steve Albini in that documentary as well. That's like a one, hour and a half documentary. Sonic Highways is like 8 episodes or 10 episodes or whatever it is. And they're all in local, cities, right? Local food, local hookers. Good point, Paul. Partaking in the scene. You want to laugh though. I was talking to, what's her name? Boy, I tell you, man, I'm getting old. Can't remember names anymore. The girl who sings "What If God Was One of Us." Fuck is her name? What if God was one of us? That was Joan Osborne. Thank you, Google. I'm talking to Joan Osborne one day, and you know what I love what Frank does? He goes, well, hold on, let me pick up that name here. I love when he does that. That makes me laugh every single time. But this is not a name drop. No bullshit. I was talking to Joan Osborne, and forgive me because I can't remember shit anymore, but the drummer from the Black Crowes, they were in a side project together, and I had done a bunch of stuff with them. And I'm talking to them, and they're down in New Orleans, and I go, is it a big deal? Is it important to go somewhere else and record a record? And the both of them were like, dude, you have no fucking idea. They're like, it means everything. They're like, where you choose to record the record, not only the sound in the room, but the city that you choose. Because they were saying, you can find a great studio in every city. I mean, in New York City, Electric Lake, like there's a million studios that sound amazing. He's like, but the city that you decide to record in influences your record. The food that you eat every day, the people that you see, the atmosphere, all of it puts you in a mood for when you walk into that room and you try and write songs and express, feelings. And I'm like, shit, that makes a lot of sense. You don't think about it, but it makes a lot of sense, that a city can have an influence on an album. And you think about some of the great records like Paul Simon and what he did in South Africa, and David Bowie and Germ. Like you think about all these albums, you're like, shit, it does make a difference where these cities are. So anyway, I digress. That's where Dave Grohl was going with this whole series, which is so wonderful. But in one of the episodes, he visits with Steve Albini, and I believe Albini produced the track or engineered the track. And Albini is showing him around this studio that he's built. And he's giving him all the little intricacies. And if you ever want a nerdy ass conversation, listen to a recording engineer. These people, I mean, they obsess over, they're so batshit fucking crazy. They'll be like, I have to make sure there's only like 7 pieces of dust on this particular piece of equipment to get the sound I want. And you're just looking at them going, the fuck is wrong with you? But you're also a genius. I want to put you behind bars, but at the same time, you're just crazy enough to make some brilliant songs, right? That's how crazy these fucking people are. So he's in the studio with Steve Albini, and Albini takes him into the room, and they're talking about the liveliness of a room, right? And all this kind of liveliness is like when you hear an echo. Like, I don't know if you can hear an echo in my room, but like, you know, we got these sound treatments and everything. I've treated this studio so that it has a particular sound to it. There's a little bit of echo in it. And again, I'm no recording engineer, but I know enough of what I want to hear in a recording. And so I got a little bit of an echo, a little bit of liveliness in the room. You can hear it a little bit. You could hear the room, they call it. So it's not totally like deadpanned, you know, because that has a different sound to it. So Albini's walking him around the room, and they're talking about the liveliness in the room. And he goes, come here, I want to show you something. And he walks over to the edge of the room where the wall meets the floor. And he points to the corner, and the camera goes down there. And he said, I specifically designed this room so that the floor doesn't meet the wall. It does in the corners. Obviously, something has to keep the floor up, right? So it did in the corner of the room. But if you look at it, there was like a 2-inch slit all down the wall. So that basically the room underneath the studio room was part of the other room. Like if you were to blow air down there, you know, or blow one of those stupid things that Vitali blew on the pedophile dude, it would go down into the other room because there was space all around. And he specifically designed the studio that way so that it would have a particular type of liveliness. So that when you struck a drum or you hit a cymbal, it would float around the room, go down the wall, downstairs, ricochet off that floor, off that wall, come back up into the room, and create a particular kind of sound. And you look at somebody and you go, what the fuck? How did you even... I would have loved to have been there when you talk to your contractor and you go, don't put the floor all the way to the wall. Can you leave me this much space? Like, just think about how batshit crazy that is. But that was the sound that this guy wanted. And that when he had a chance, when he finally made enough money to build his own recording studio, that's what he decided to do. And Fly NY has it. When you listen to somebody that batshit crazy and out of their fucking mind, all you can do is go, what a genius. What a genius. All right. Like if that, like and you look at that and you go, you have had to have done this a lot of times to go, you know what I think is going to work? If we don't put the floor all the way to the wall, that's going to give us a wonderful sound. And Bird leads me to my next point. I wonder how he encountered that sound before that game. Yeah, I think he had worked in another studio where it wasn't like that all the way around, but there was like a hole going into there was like a hole in the floor. I believe, I could be making this up, but I think I heard him say this. There was like a hole in the floor, and it produced this particular sound that he found was interesting. So he thought, oh, I want to do that. You know, I want to create this like liveliness, you know. So fucking interesting. You think of little things like that. That also happened when Led Zeppelin was recording. I can't remember which one of their albums, but they're in this huge mansion-y, cavernous church-like structure. And John Bonham goes, I want to put my drum kit out in the hall, in the atrium like area, so that we just get this big booming sound of the drums, you know. And it's like, that's not how you do it. You're in a room. You look at old recording studios, there's like low ceilings, and they're so like, oh, we got to control sound. And that's what these sound treatments are here. They just absorb vibrations. So when sound hits these things, it dies. When sound hits just a plain wall, it ricochets off. It's a bit more livelier. I don't know about when sound hits broken sound panels, like you can see down here. I don't know what happens there. But that's the difference. And here's Bonham, where he's like, no, let's go into the biggest, most echoey part of the house, and we'll do the drums there. And you listen to Bonham's drum sound on those fucking Zeppelin records, and you're like, Jesus Christ, it sounds like lightning and thunder. It's fucking huge. Those are big drum sounds. You know, Ringo, little drum sounds, right? Not even that everybody criticizes him for simple playing, but Ringo's always in the pocket. But Ringo doesn't look like he's hitting drums hard. John Bonham, you feel like Thor is holding the hammer and the drumstick at the same time and playing. They're so big and heavy because you just get those big, huge, different sounds. By the way, that's why people like to sing in the shower. Echo for singers is great. That's why people go, I sound great in the shower. Yeah, because there's a huge fucking room with wall and tile and not a lot of soft surfaces. Everything's bouncing around in there. Everybody's going to sound good in the bathroom. You know, you put a rug in there and shit, and it's a different story. So, who's this Bonham fella? That's pretty good. So anyway, so that's my rap about Steve Albini. He's an amazing producer, one of those crazy ass geniuses. If you ever have a chance to watch an interview with him, I would say take it. You're probably going to learn something you may not need to know, but you'll feel pretty good about knowing in the long run. Tell you what I don't feel good about knowing is this fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene. This idiot. How much longer do we have to put up with this stupid asshole? She put a motion on the floor to oust the Speaker of the House. She did this a while ago. She never put it to a vote. They did today, and she got her ass handed to her, both from Democrat and Republicans. Again, there's very few things that unite these two parties. One, the hatred of TikTok. That seemed to put everybody right on the same page, right? But before that, there wasn't really COVID, 9/11, right? The housing crisis. There's very few times where our congressional portion of our government moves fast or almost is unanimous. And again, 9/11, housing crisis, global pandemic, fucking moron Marjorie Taylor Greene. These are the four things that everybody's able to come together and go, well, we could at least agree on this. And they shot down her bid to oust the Speaker of the House. Now, the Speaker of the House, again, I don't really know that guy all that much. Don't care. Not for him or against him, really. He met with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I don't know why he did that. That seemed pretty stupid. And she laid out a whole bunch of demands, but she's got no votes. And it really drives me crazy because the people who don't know how it fucking works, the people who don't know the temperature of the room, annoy me to no end. If you don't have the votes, if you don't have the ability to do it, don't fucking do it. Your little congregation already did it once. And everybody turned around and went, there's not much of a difference here. Right? I mean, there's not much of a difference between this guy and the last guy. Probably the last guy was a bit easier to deal with than this guy. I know if Frank were here, he would say this guy is such a piece of shit. And he has the right to say that. That's fair. But they're talking about all these crazy things. And it's just like, just read the room, asshole. Read the fucking room. Final topic of the episode, and appreciate you guys for hanging. By the way, any questions or any shit you guys want to talk about, throw it in the chat now. We'll run through something quick before we go. The Office reboot. You know I'm a huge fan of The Office. We've been talking about this Office reboot. There was a casting a couple of weeks back where we found out two of the actors who were going to be in it, Domhnall Gleeson and Sabrina Impacciatore. By the way, do we have any chicken Impacciatore? Because I'm fucking starving. I haven't bad lunch today. I could go for some chicken Impacciatore right now so bad. I would love it with a little linguine on top. Would be amazing. Anyway, I bring it up this time around because it's being reported that the spinoff is officially happening. Peacock said the untitled new comedy will hail from Greg Daniels, who adapted the original Office for the NBC show. And they've got the cast ready to go. The two actors that I said. It's not like nobody really knows like the specifics of it, but the premise is that both those actors work at a struggling Wisconsin newspaper. Or I shouldn't say Wisconsin, a Midwestern newspaper. I thought I had Wisconsin. I have Wisconsin in my notes, though. So, again, The Office was a paper company in Pennsylvania. This will be a struggling newspaper in the Midwest. The documentary crew that immortalized Dunder Mifflin's Scranton branch is in search of a new subject when they discover the dying historic Midwestern newspaper and the publisher trying to revive it with volunteer reporters. It's not the worst idea I've heard in the world. I get it. And if you're thinking about the canon of where that documentary crew would be, they would obviously go on to do something else. But I don't really know. I don't really know how. I'm nervous about it. You strike gold once, it's one thing. And when you think about it, The Office, you're trying to go back to that well for a third time. Now, the original Office was a huge hit in England, right? Then they take it and bring it to the States, and everybody doubted it. But I will say it separated off. Outside of the first season, it really goes off on its own thing and becomes its own thing. But the premise of it all was from the original one. So you've struck gold twice with this idea, and now you're going back again for a third time? I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm really nervous, kids. I don't know if I can. I'm going to support it. I'm going to be there for Greg Daniels, just as a thank you for all the episodes of The Office that I love so much. But I don't know. I'm pretty scared. All right, couple of topics here. Nacho Fish Show. Could we talk about the sound of JFK Jr.'s voice? Sounds like he always needs to clear his throat. Yes, it's very distracting. I know he's got a thing with that. That's like a thing. They say he's fine. It doesn't affect anything. I think he would lose because people don't want to listen to him. I know I don't. When he starts talking, I go, I don't know if I could really take the voice, to be honest with you. He could be the answer we're all looking for, but I got to say, not so much. I will say, I do, listen, some of the things that RFK says is interesting. Some of the things he says is very smart and pretty intelligent. He did get caught up in this vaccine thing, and he was on Bill Maher, and I got to say, I was impressed with him clearing up some of those situations. Again, it's a testament to the shitty job our mainstream media does, and also our really short attention spans that we never really take in a full story anymore. Like when I talked about the New York Times story, I mentioned that you can have a worm eat your brain and you could recover from that. I guarantee you that's not in any other headline you're going to see about that story. I guarantee it. I can almost also guarantee it probably won't be in the first 3 to 5 paragraphs of any story that you do actually read that involves that. That will be buried. It'll be there for the people who still have some journalistic integrity, but it'll be buried. I didn't feel the need to hide it from you. It's still an interesting story. But in our era of clickbait and sensationalism, that shit doesn't even get included. And if it does get included, it gets buried to the bottom where, again, in our era of just give me the headline and I'm going to move on to the next thing because I'm just consuming a shit ton of information, that stuff gets missed. So, I think that guy gets a bad rap when it comes to some stuff. Like, again, and here, Christine, it's a good point. It's a fair point. He's an anti-vaccine guy. He addressed that on Bill Maher. And again, maybe he really is. But what he said on Bill Maher was like, he basically said, I didn't like a lot of the testing that was done during the pandemic, which I have to be honest, it's a fair point. It's not let me get through the whole thing before everybody gets mad. he was basically talking about, the placebo and the control, all that kind of testing that they do, just to make sure it all works. And the proper testing wasn't done and blah, 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 and this and that. But he said on Bill Maher that his kids are vaccinated. They've all gotten all the other vaccines. There's all that kind of, like, he's like, I believe in vaccines. He's like, I would even believe in this one. He goes, I just wish it was tested better, which is a fair point. But what drives me crazy about that statement and other people in this particular instance where they go, oh, they didn't do the right test. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. We were under a global pandemic, right? So if you're telling me you've got 5 years to figure out how effective this drug could be, go out and do all the tests you need to, you got 5 years to do it. Okay, fine. You want to have that complaint? Then you have every right to have that complaint. And there's no caveats there. But when you are rushing to get to things to market, to save lives, there's an asterisk there for me. Oh, those tests weren't done properly and this and that. Okay. But it's like, to me, and I make this analogy all the time, there's a hole in the boat. Okay. You want to argue about how to take a bucket and flip the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, the boat's going down now. You don't have time. You don't have 3 days to argue what the best solution is to get the water out of the boat. This guy get the fucking water out of the boat. You don't have those. That's what drives me crazy about a lot of people who criticize what was done during the pandemic. Believe me, there's plenty of criticism to go around. A lot of it is very justified. And then there's people that are like, looking back on it. Oh yeah, okay. Well, we didn't know that stuff then because it was all happening in the moment, and mistakes were made. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like I'm guilty of this too. I sit there and I go, why didn't Daniel Jones make that pass and the Giants win the football game? Well, get off your fat fucking ass, asshole, and get in the game. You can't do it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, why'd you throw that interception? Oh, I don't know. I just thought, wouldn't this be a fun point in the game to throw an interception? Like, what are you going to do? You do the best you can with the with what you have in front of you. Flying why some people got blood clots, etc., from the vaccine. Yeah. And I don't know if they could admit it at the time. But I look at these adults arguing, and they say things like, they weren't honest with the public, and they weren't this, and they weren't that. And then those same adults will go home and look at a child and lie to their face to get them to behave a certain way. And then they're going to be like, why did our government do this to us? Well, I'll give you 5 fucking guesses. Because they're trying not to cause mass hysteria, more murder and craziness and all this insanity. Did they get it right? Not 100%. Were they close? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and argue with people about points and stuff, but it gets forgotten that it was happening at that moment. It was happening now. How do we kill the zombies? I don't know. Let's sit here and figure it out. But they're banging on the door. Well, right? I mean, you got to figure it out fucking fast then. And guess what? You're going to make a mistake. Somebody's going to trip and fall and get murdered. Okay. We're going to lose Carl or Phil or Johnny. Right? As we're all trying to get away, Carl's going to fall, and that's going to be the end of Carl. Carl's a zombie now. Shit happens when you're in the fucking moment. I don't know how we got. Oh, RFK. Yeah. So that's my critique. RFK, and again, this isn't a defense of him, because again, Epstein playing twice, and that's good enough for me. But he definitely seems a victim of, I go on this podcast, I answer a bunch of questions, the media takes 4 seconds of what I said, puts it out on the internet, and catches fire. And now I spend days clarifying what I said, and it feels like backtracking, right? Because I think that's what he's been. That's what I think his campaign is really up against in a major way. If I thought he was the savior for our country, I'd probably be a little bit more upset about it, but I don't think he is. Not like the other two guys are either. We haven't really talked about Trump, but the Stormy Daniels testimony was a little rough from what I heard. We'll keep our eye on it. I just didn't think it was worthy of a conversation, you know. I also don't love talking about the pandemic. I feel like it's like, you know, I don't know. It's like being like, hey, wasn't World War II great? We won and everything. And it's like, well, yeah, but, you know, it worked out the way it needed to, but a lot of fucked up shit happened. And we probably could have handled it all a lot better, right? Don't you feel it's kind of the same fucking thing? It's like the same thing. It's like, we won that war flawlessly. No innocent lives were lost. We got in and out at the right time. We did everything correct. Like, it's real life. It doesn't happen that way. It's never clear cut, you know? Speaking of which, Fly and Why, how close do you think we are to World War III? Not close at all. Yeah, not close at all. A couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh, it feels like we're teetering close to the World War III. Feels like we're tipping our toe in the World War III water. I think when Iran was like, hey, we're going to bomb Israel, that's when I was like, oh, shit, this is getting interesting. This might be a little complicated. But if you remember, I came on the very next episode, and after seeing the might of Iran there, I was no longer concerned about World War III. I really wasn't. Now, that's not to say that we're not going to get into more skirmishes. There's not going to be more issues. But believe me when I tell you, and if you remember, you know that a couple of weeks ago, I went toward a Black Hawk helicopter because the nice gentleman, the saint, I should say, who coaches my kids' hockey team, happens to be a Black Hawk helicopter pilot here on Long Island. And so he took the kids. They won the championship, so he took the kids for a tour, and I filmed it, and I put it in the members-only area. Just talking to him and other people and being, you know, in this Army facility, you just kind of realize, and again, you take a look at our budget, you know, we put a lot of money into weapons, a lot of money. And I mean, I think that means something, honestly. Do I think that we're never going to be attacked again? We're never going to have no, there's always going to be some bullshit. There's always going to be some fucking asshole who thinks they're going to change the world by their one little thing. But I mean, if you really look at it, all things untold, I mean, from Osama bin Laden to the asshole in Russia with Ukraine to the Palestinians and the Israel, when you think about all of these things, are any of these things really like where the world is like, holy shit? Like, you gotta really go all the way back to Hitler when it was the last time people were like, oh fuck, this is becoming a big deal. It's like, we're all gonna have to deal with this, you know? And that shit has not really happened since the Cold War, all those years, all those rumors, all the nuclear bombing drills, and nothing happened. Russia collapsed. Now all we do is hear about China this and China that. Well, at the same time, though, China built all these cities that are not fucking filled. China, I also don't think, has any interest in taking over the world, you know, or causing mass conflict. I just don't see it, you know. I just don't see it. Does it blip around here? That, yeah. Asshole face in Russia, I think, feels that way, but he can't even take over a tiny itty bitty country. I mean, come on. His goal was to defend Russia. Okay. And then we're going to and he wants to take the Ukraine back. It's been like 3 fucking years and still nothing. There's still just little bombings and raid. And I'm not to say that the Ukraine doesn't have shit to deal with, but even neighboring countries are not worried about that. When Hitler was on the move, people were like, holy shit. Like, this is getting fucking serious. Nobody is afraid of Vladimir Putin. Nobody. I feel like even most of the Ukrainians who are just living their lives are like, yeah, it's, you know, feel bad they're bombing that part of our country, but I'm selling fucking flowers over here. You want to buy one? You know what I mean? And even the Middle East. Listen, Fly. I get you. I get the concern. Like I said, when Iran was like, "I'm going to bomb some shit," I was like, "Oh shit." This might be it. We got to be careful. This could be the brink, because that's what we always feared, right? It's the oil, it's the religion, it's the the world view, it's the hatred for American culture. You think of all these things, and you're like, this could get fucking serious. And then you look at the big bombing, and you're like, eh. Now, that's not to say again that one of these asshole dictators in an asshole country can't fly a fucking nuclear weapon out and cause mass destruction. They probably can. They can. It could happen. But a world war, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. And a major reason why I don't see it is because China and the United States, we are so fucking... I know we don't agree with their ways and the dictatorship and the censorship of speech and Hong Kong and Taiwan and you name it. There's a lot of issues there. At the same time, we've got our economies entwined, and it's no longer the case where you take over everything and everything flourishes. You need trade. You need different countries. You just do. So that's my thought on that. That's it. That's all I got. I know that it looks like there's a lot of comments here. Oh, by the way, I have to say this too. Join our Discord. There's a link in the description below. Our Discord is so good. I go on there every day, lots of times in the morning, in the afternoon. I'm just seeing such fun topics and conversations. I know I don't comment on there enough, but I kind of feel like I say enough shit here. I like going on the Discord and just shutting the fuck up and listening and watching and enjoying all the nice things that everybody says. Raven's wonderful meals. By the way, I did have rice, actually today and yesterday, because of Raven's meal on Monday. By the way, I'm also, thanks to Robin's Nest, I'm canceling my Nat Geo subscription. This is better than Robin's Nest on our Discord channel is better than Nat Geo. I no longer feel the need to pay for that because Robin's got a different bird and fucking deer and all sorts of turkeys, all sorts of stuff. Skunks, all kinds of crazy, wonderful animals in his backyard. It's amazing. I really appreciate it. I mean, you think about people's different perspectives. Robin gets to see like this wonderful nature every single day. But has he ever seen a homeless man take a shit in between two cars on the street? I don't know. I'll have to ask him. Robin, have you ever seen that? Because I have multiple times. Okay. I don't know if one makes us better than the other. I'm just saying we come from different perspectives. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. There's a music chat in there too. It's pretty fun. There's lots of fun stuff in there. It's actually grown pretty out of control. We've got general topics. We've got off topics. We've got movie show suggestions, decor suggestions, a meme section, photography, art, Bird's World, Robin's Nest, Raven's Cravens. There's just so many. There's an animal section. Paige's news has not been updated. I don't know if Paige is even on here. But Paige, you have a whole channel waiting for you to curate if you want to. Anyway, the AOA holes on the Discord. Loving you guys. I appreciate it very much. I want to thank you for the entertainment there because I do enjoy checking in on it and just seeing what everybody's chatting about and talking about. So link in the description below for that if you want to become a part of our Discord family, which is always a good time. If you want to catch the video of me with the Black Hawk helicopter, that's in the members only area. That's a different deal. There's another link in the description for that. You can join for those exclusive little tidbits that we get to do every now and then. And that'll be a fun little thing. Miss J Sabs on the Wednesday podcast. If you don't know where she is, I tweeted it. We put it on Facebook. We put it on Instagram where she is and what she's up to right now. I'm not going to repeat it. Go check it out. Go see for yourself. It is a sight to see where she is and what exactly she's doing in this moment. But we miss her, and we can't wait for her to come back and hear all about her journey. That's it for me. Appreciate you guys. Love the one-on-one shows. Frankie C, Aaron, everybody's back on Friday. We'll see you then. Have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday.
Show me potato salad.
Maybe we should go now.